Hello, my darlings, and welcome back to the Soul Sync podcast. Today, I want to begin with a question. How much of our potential do we never discover because somewhere along the way, we decided there must be a limit to what we can feel, a limit to what we can know, a limit to how deeply we can connect with ourselves, with one another, and perhaps even with the spirit world. Because we human beings, we do love a box, don't we? We like definitions, we like certainty, we like to know where something begins, where it ends, what it is called, and preferably whether someone else has already approved it. And mediumship, I tell you this, is no exception. We ask, am I doing it correctly? Was that really spirit? Did I imagine it? Was that evidence strong enough? Should I be seeing more? Should I be feeling more? Should I be hearing more? And before we know it, something that is meant to be natural has become yet just another performance, another thing to get right, another part of ourselves to doubt. What if I told you the spirit world, connecting to them is not the difficult part? What if connection is not something we have to force, manufacture, or somehow earn? What if it's already there and it is our own noise, our stress, our fear, and the constant need to understand everything prevents us from even noticing it? And I've been thinking about this a great deal recently. Since stepping away from my business, I have felt something shift within me. I feel lighter. I feel much more present, even though I thought I was pretty present before. And strangely, or perhaps not so strangely at all, my mediumship has began to flow in ways that feel more natural and spontaneous than before. Spirit has started making itself known when I am not sitting in a reading, not preparing for a demonstration, and not consciously asking anybody to come forward. And it has made me wonder how often we believe we are present when in truth part of us is still carrying the weight of yesterday or rehearsing the problems of tomorrow. This is my conversation with Colin Bates. Colin. I'm so excited to say this, but welcome back to the Soul Sync, my darling.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be with you once again.
Well, I'm delighted to have you here. I was so excited when you said you would come back on because you're such a wonderful human being. And I know that so many people before, found your episode to be really helpful, which was titled You Are the Power. So welcome back.
Thank you.
I'm excited to talk to you because, like I was saying before we push the record button, I feel I've been given a massive upgrade, Colin, recently in my mediumship, especially since leaving my company, because it's really made me look, and mediumship has helped me so much in my life, because even in the decision I took concerning my work, without mediumship, I do not think I would have been able to navigate that period of my life. And it really made me aware of just why mediumship came into my life and what it gives you, because it was a lot of the spirit world, actually, that made me feel confident. But I've now noticed since leaving and feeling lighter that my mediumship is flowing, and it's really made me assess, my relationship with the present moment and how present I was in the past, thinking I was present. It's interesting, isn't it?
Well, it is, you see, because it's all about the balance, the mind, the body, and the spirit, you see. And when something is just not quite right, it will in some way affect the balance of everything. And usually when something is not quite right, it's either the mind, the body, or the spirit. And when one of those is out of sync with the rest, everything can feel as if it's just not quite right, you see. But because mediumship and the journey of the soul, I believe, is not only something that's sacred, I believe that it's something that's ordained pre-birth within the spirit. So it's quite amazing, really, how through one thing it opens the doorway to a greater possibility in a way that is right for you. So you may not see it when you're in the middle of it, but as you move through it and things start to clear, then all of a sudden it's as if the green light is fully on, and it's saying now is the time, now is the opportunity, perhaps to focus upon your heart's desires rather than what the physical mind and world demands of you.
It's interesting. Even I felt now on reflection, I was very much playing a tug of war. On one hand, I'm trying to be spiritual, I'm trying to do my mediumship, trying to do all these different things. But, you know, it made me realize just how in my subconscious all the time, even my meditations now, you know, I'm sitting there and everything's flowing. And so I'll tell you an interesting story, actually, Colin, you'll like this. So I was at a gay pride the other day in Weston-super-Mare, and as you do, and there was a healing tent there, and there was a healing lady, and she was offering massages for like £10 or whatever. And I went and sat in her chair. She's a lovely lady. And I don't know what happened, but I suddenly felt there was a spirit person wanting to talk to her. And I would never in a million years, Colin, start saying to someone, you know, I've got a spirit person, because my doubt at the best of the time, you know, I can be in a reading sometimes and, you know, still be doubting what I'm getting. But I don't know what came over me. I just suddenly said to her, do you have this lady, this name, this person in the spirit world? And it's happened to me about 5 occasions over the last week when I'm standing with someone I know, and I'm becoming aware of spirit people when I'm not requesting, you know, someone to come in. And it's made me really aware that my sensitivity has been very heightened all of a sudden. So it's an exciting period, but it, you know, really made me stop and reflect about how it is we get so busy in our lives. And there'll be lots of people listening to this trying to develop their mediumship, wondering why it isn't flowing. And a lot of the time it's just by virtue of your circumstances. But like you said, sometimes you don't even realize these things are going on within you, or you're in this state when you're in the thick of it.
Well, you see, it's the physical mind, and the physical mind is the dominating energy of this life and this world. And so when you move into the time of the medium, in a way, what you're doing is you're moving away from that, and you're starting to focus upon a reality which is real, because mediumship really is part of life and the journey of life. But it's that ability perhaps to take time away from what is occupying us physically, and to really move into that sense of a greater awareness. Because you see, when you're in the physical mind and everything's going on, all of the subtle realms of the psyche and the spirit are muted. So when there is that freedom within the mind and it's not preoccupied, or when you are in that moment of peace, or even when you're more peaceful, there isn't that great concentration physically. So what is happening is that consciously or unconsciously, you're opening the doorway to an experience. So your own sensitivity is heightened. But remember, mediumship is a natural process. So it is something you create through the power of the mind, but it really is the natural power of the soul. So when you're with someone who perhaps has a need, or you are moving into really a greater sensitivity, then you are going to be more aware of the spirit world. You are going to have these wonderful experiences. And I always say, you know, what I'm going to do is just let go of the physical world and just start to listen to the whispers of heaven and just see who's here for you. And really, there's no separation. You see, and I think that's where people try to put things into boxes. Well, you can't put life in a box. It don't fit. And really, there's no separation between one world and another. It's just a thought, you see. And so the more that you become in tune with the natural power of who you are, the more you embrace the peace within the heart, the easier that doorway will open. to the awareness of the other world. I do believe that, you see. We are our own blockage. I sound like Sunny Lav. We are our own natural blockage, if you will. You see, because the three things that stop the wonderful flow, and that is the physical mind, stress, and concentration. And the physical mind is the one that will always tell you can't, or should I, or could I. You see,
it's funny, the three things you're listing: the concentration, the stress, tick, 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 Colin, you know, all the things I'm not meant to have.
yes.
But I'm in the present now. I feel present, Colin.
Yes, and this is what is so wonderful, because as you are continuing to develop, you're starting to believe it. It's starting to become an actuality of belief, you see. And then we look at the three tiers of belief. I can tell you you're a medium. You can tell yourself you're a medium, but until you believe it, you won't embrace it fully. So every time you sit, every time you work, there is something within you and I that is sacred. There is an essence of life that is capable of coexisting in more than one world, you see. And then as soon as you start to empower that, you see, then this, because we are the doorway, you know, it's not the spirit world. The spirit world can't change. They live in their own vibration of energy, you see. So it's the medium that walks between worlds and opens their thoughts, minds, and hearts to this greater awareness, you see, of the spirit world. And
what are the three levels of belief? Because I would say that I've believed for a long time. Well, I've gone through different stages. So at the very beginning, I wanted to believe in the spirit world. Then I went on this big expedition of searching for proof of the spirit world. And then eventually the only proof I was willing to accept was when I started doing it. Then I thought, well, okay, now I know the spirit world exists. But then there is these different stages. And I would say that I was then stuck in the stage of believing implicitly in the power, the love, the intelligence of the spirit world. But then for a long time, I was lacking in belief in myself in terms of my ability to do it. Now I would say I'm coming like an eclipse, Colin. I'm just meeting in the middle at the moment.
Isn't that wonderful?
It is. But so how would you describe these levels of belief? Because there's going to be people listening to this say, yes, Colin, I believe, but it's not happening for me.
Well, you know, you have to look at belief, faith, and reason, don't you? And I always look at the three pillars of faith. And true faith is the belief in that which we wish to be and to become. So the first level of faith is when I tell you, perhaps if you bring it into relation to the spirit. So I can tell you about the spirit world, you see. And then you can tell yourself about the spirit world. You can say, I believe in the spirit. But until you really embrace that, until that belief becomes a faith, it's moving into. And when we have a faith within something, it becomes an absolute. You see, it becomes unshakable, you see. And especially in mediumship, because we go through these stages of development. And we go through these stages where we are very sensitive, and we are sensitive to people. We are sensitive to what people say to us. And when we move beyond that, and I'm talking about teachers, because they do far more harm than good, some of them, you know.
Well, indeed, you know, if you're a sensitive person as well, when you're going to a teacher and you're not being handled in the right way with love, you know, it does cause problems, because I've heard of so many mediums or aspiring mediums who, you know, their confidence is in the gutter, so to speak.
Well, this is where I come into action, really, because they all pop round to see me and I dust them down, pick them up and send them off again and say, you know, because what you have to remember is the spoken word, once it is said, can never be taken back. And you will always remember those moments. But as you grow and develop within your sensitivity, you reach a point where you embrace the fact that you are the medium. And that's where the I am comes in. I am that, the most sacred words. First there was nothing, then there was light. The first words of creation. I am that. And when you embrace that within your mediumship, you begin to realize that the power of the medium is who you are. It is not someone you're trying to be. It is something you need to recognize within yourself. For the sacred act of mediumship is a facet of your soul that you are created unto life and love. And it is who you are. This is me. That song, The Greatest Showman. That's what you want to play before you do a reading or a demonstration.
Oh, that builds the power, doesn't it, Colin?
Because
Here
you
I
come
am.
into that presence of energy. And I think you also have to look at the stages of the heart. And you look at the physical heart, for instance, which is really occupied with everything of this life. And then you move into a time of the seeking heart. And that is with your heart, you're seeking to embrace, to understand life, the journey. And then you move into the devotional heart. And the devotional heart is when you embrace the power of life, the energy of creation. And then there is another one on the end, which I'm sure I shall never reach. And that is called the clean heart. And that is when you let go of all distractions within this life and you move and become one with the creative God force.
That sounds like a lovely stage, doesn't it?
Well, it was the guru of Paramahansa Yogananda, Sri Yutsiva, and I haven't got the words exactly right. He talks about the 5 stages of the heart. And I'm wavering, you see. I'm trying to be in the devotional heart now and let go of all the emotion of the last couple of years, because my God, there has been quite a lot. And those thoughts and issues. And even, the world itself influences us as well as people, time and places. So the answer is to move into compassion and say, I love you, I do not understand you, I wish you well, but I cannot live within the anger you create or the disruption. And so I've tried really to follow that within myself. But the amount of people, you are so right, the amount of people that come and they've been to somebody and they've said to them either, you will never be a medium, you see, which is the greatest destructive thing you could ever say to anyone. And really, not everybody is destined to be a platform medium or a private city medium. Why ever would you? But what we are destined to do, you see, and I say that word, not everyone, some are. But the main majority of people that come upon this quest of the heart to seek to embrace the presence and the power of the spirit will go on to change the world spiritually. Because it is the spiritualization of the heart. It is bringing peace within life. And many of the people that touch mediumship will go on to make the greatest of healers, which is the highest form of mediumship. They will use their sensitivity in life because it's not about death, it's about life. And maybe go forward, work with the therapies, work with life, work with the energy of life.
We'll be right back.
If you find this podcast helpful, please take a moment to spread the word by rating it or reviewing it wherever you listen. It's interesting you even saying that, because mediumship is about life, because we are forever eternal. But, when I think about it, it's never described as that, is it? You wouldn't say, "Oh, I'm doing mediumship because I'm giving way to life." But I guess when we're doing it for the general public. If we started off, well, maybe that's how we should start off. This isn't about connecting to the, people who've passed away. What we're actually doing is connecting to life that is eternal.
Well, the thing is, you see, when I was a child, because I'm old now,
Oh, no, you're not, Colin. You're looking very radiant today.
When I was a child, bless you, you're very kind. When I was a child, we sat first for over a year in what they used to call an awareness circle, where you sat to find the presence of the power within you. And it wasn't at all to do with the spirit world. It was about really finding that core essence of being and embracing the presence of that, and then going on from there to start to sit before the presence of the spirit. And in a way, in this age, we do it back to front, because now people come and they want to speak to Granny, but they haven't learned how to speak to themselves. So it's really learning how to really access the power itself, because within you and I, there is an unlimited supply of this extraordinary energy called life, which is the key to everything. But if you were to say to someone, well, yes, of course you can come and study with me, but you've got to sit in the quiet for a year first, they'd say no. Or you probably only get one or two that would do it, and then...
I bet you wish it was like that, because that'd be quite an easy first year for you. You'd love the induction, the beginner group.
Well, the thing is, I love to sit, you see, and whenever I'm teaching, I always sit with everybody all of the time. So I'm more there than here. But you can understand it in a way, can't you?
How? You can.
Because if you look at what you are going through and how you have come into this wonderful blossoming of everything, it's coming to being because you've learned certain aspects of yourself and you've taken certain steps based upon your own needs rather than what you were doing. Now, I would just drop a little seed of thought here into your lovely mind. Just say, maybe there was a higher influence there that was already starting to bring its awareness to you, that actually what you were doing was not right for you.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I've started to, I think you get to a certain age in life, don't you, when you start to look back. And I've started to really, over the last few years, notice a lot of coincidences, things coming along, people coming along. Why did mediumship come along as it did? And mediumship, I owe a lot, because it's made me have to really look at myself, because it is ultimately a journey of self, isn't it? Because it is so individual. And when I started this journey, I was petrified of death. That was my starting position, Colin. It was, I want proof, because I want proof to know that everything I'm doing in this life has purpose, because I just couldn't not get my head around. We're born, we die. It just didn't make sense. And it was like my soul was almost crying out, yearning out, which is what brought on addiction ultimately, because I just couldn't wrap my head around what this life is about. And that was doing something on a soul level. And now I'm so glad it came into my life, because I think it's healed me in so many ways I needed to. But it's very individual, isn't it? It's mediumship. And this is the thing with it. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, because even how we interpret it. So I wanted to ask, because when I get a connection now, and I didn't realize this until recently, I always start off with a face in my mind. It's always a face. And I get a face really clearly. And I thought that was limiting in a way for once, because I thought, why can't I move beyond the face? Why am I stuck with the face? But I've noticed, just my mind is very quick, Colin. It's always moving. But I've really started to look at the way in which I feel in and use evidence. And You know, it's interesting. Well, when you first do a connection, tell me, what is happening for you? What are you feeling? What are you experiencing? What's going on internally within you, Colin? All sorts, I imagine, like a party poppers going
You
on.
know, the first thing for me to create communication is to start in the heart and to build the love and the atmosphere within myself. So there is a focus, there is an intention, there is a concentration. The concentration creates an energy or a power, and that creates the experience. Now, the clairsentience is actually your strongest, although you may not think it, because it's through the feeling that you start to know that someone is there. Something tells us that someone is there. And perhaps before that, I am seeking the spirit within myself. So there is an expansion of the auric field. There is an expansion of my spirit senses. And so therefore, my attention is moving from the physical life and world to the other world. So I'm seeking the spirit. I'm opening the door, if you will, to that experience. And it's interesting, you see, that the first thing you see is a face, because the first thing I touch is emotion. And that emotion can be a story. It can be a reflection. It can also be a message. I love you. I'm sorry. I was angry. I never said goodbye. So my first touch is an emotion of some kind. Through the feeling, I blend with an emotion, and then it takes me to a presence, which is personality. And personality takes me to mind, and mind will have a chat. So I'm listening while I'm experiencing. And so what I try not to do is to describe immediately, because description will take me away from the mind of the spirit. But feeling and emotion will take me into understanding.
Yes, I see that.
So the emotion leads you into a story. Why I love you, how I love you, why I'm sorry, why I'm angry. And that is also based upon the relationship between the spirit and the person you're talking to.
We'll be right back.
Hello, my darlings. I'm launching a brand new monthly newsletter. Think of it as SoulSync in your inbox once a month. Or we'll be like pen pals. I'll tell you what I'm up to with my mediumship, what I've been doing over the month. There'll be free meditation downloads, events. Sign up jasonpaulmedium.com down at the bottom of the homepage, and I'll see you there. It's interesting because even, I guess, yes, I get the face, but actually, no, I do get the emotions at the same time. I am getting the emotions, but, you know, what I got bogged down with is I've got a very overactive imagination, ADHD brain, and I've got so bogged down with the clairvoyance, almost that you start, because for a long time, I don't even know how to interpret the image. What is it I'm meant to take from this? And then I learnt a very valuable lesson a few weeks ago when my granddad kept popping up in readings. And I thought, well, I know this isn't my granddad in the symbology. I'm not going to say I've got my granddad suddenly stepping in. He's showing me something. He's showing me an activity. But there's a lot going on there. And even the fact that when you start the reading or the experience, you're building up that energy. It almost feels to me like you're creating.
Totally. There you go. You've got it. Because the energy of the reading starts the very second you meet the person. So you use the power of the voice as a way of connecting through the introduction. And the feeling takes you into the knowing, which helps to build a stronger connection. So you've got the preparation before you start, preparing yourself. because I do believe that you should always do that, however you choose to do it. And then the moment I see someone, I look at them and my heart goes, what do I feel about you? So I'm not using the mind to seek to find, to answer questions. I'm using the power to embrace, because the mind, God love it, will try and give you an answer. And 99 out of 100, that answer will be based upon your own analysis rather than the energy of the experience. So you want to kick the mind out, really. Stay with the heart, stay with the feeling, you see. And then through the feeling, it leads you into understanding. And this is where you've got the natural medium and you've got mediumship of the mind. Well, I teach the mind as a way of a portal to the other world, but I teach the power as a way of communication, not the mind. So I'm not seeking to find these different things. What I'm doing is using the energy to embrace the experience so that the experience tells me what I need to know, not what I think I should know. That's when it goes wrong.
You mentioned one part there and you sort of skimmed past this part, which I think is the hardest part, actually, which is the... and you said everything you said, yes, I completely agree with. But that very quick part you skimmed past, which I think so many people get stuck with, is the just allowing, just not reaching, not trying, not, because it is so difficult not to do that. I would spend, so long in my journey, Colin. I'd be pushing my aura out, trying to build all these sorts of things. But it's that bit which is so hard because it's the total point of surrender. And you can say, yes, I'm not trying. Yes, I'm allowing. Yes, I'm just being. Yes, I'm just sitting. But at the end of the day, you have to really be in alignment with that. And that's where the journey comes,
Well, really, it's the seeking. See, everything is created through love, really. And when you embrace that and you radiate it, you'll touch it. Because at the heart of the spirit world is the creative force, because they are part of one another, you see. And so as you move into that awareness, you see, I radiate that feeling of welcome, if you will. So I'm wishing to connect. So there's a part of me that is seeking, you see, but I can do two things at once. I can talk to you about your life, your light, and your journey, and at the same time move into an awareness of your granny. So I'm there talking to you and experiencing your life. And at the same time, because we look at the energy of need within a reading, your need may be to understand this life. Your need may be to understand and talk to the spirit. It may be that it's both. So in a natural order, they will both be there, you see, because the spirit world is with you, not me. So I'm seeing and communicating with the spirit because they're there and they're with you. And they're with you because before you come to see Uncle Colin, you've sat in your thoughts and you've said, I need this, 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 I need help with this, this, and this, help me. Or, Mama, be with me. So therefore, the energy already knows what you need. And that's the difference between creating what you think it needs and surrendering and allowing the naturalness to unfold that
Very
brings
interesting.
you to the need and the answer. Because really, mediumship has moved now into the power of the oracle. Mediumship is no longer the sacred act of communicating with the other world. People come to us now with absolute demands of this life. The thing about the oracle is it knows about everything, anything, and nothing. And so it's the ability to answer the unspoken question, to see. And the soul itself is the power to know. And the knowing is actually the strongest gift of this age. So what you'll find with mediumship is it starts in all these different ways and experiences. But then as you move through the foundation of the power that you build, because you do and you are, that all of a sudden you'll experience less, but you'll know more. So you
No, I can relate to that.
trust. Because as soon as you question, it chips away at the goodness that you create. So this is why I am the medium am I. You build it, you create it, you know it. And that's when that absolute faith becomes unshakable, that you are the medium. And then when you reach that point, it does not matter what anyone says to you, because you'll smile, you'll say, thank you very much. You'll turn your back and go,
Ah,
that is the greatest moment as a medium.
I've literally just got to that point, Colin. I feel that I've just got to that point, and it's exciting. You know, I'm sort of, I wouldn't say I'm not willing to take no for an answer. That's something my mum said to me growing up. You've always had a problem with the word no. But I do feel now that that alignment has come, because you go through different stages. At the very beginning, when you look at a medium, it's this sticky, okay, I've got red car, I'm seeing beach, I'm seeing, you know, balloon. Then you get to a stage of saying, yes, okay, I'm getting this. And recently, just in the last few weeks, you are a composer of energy as a medium. And when you're describing that, that's what was coming to me. But now I'm building the power in a reading, because the language I'm using is, and I was loving it yesterday, Colin, when I was doing a reading. I said, right, your mum is now saying this and she is communicating this. And she says that she used to like going to open water. It's that ability to bring that person to life, builds on that energy.
Isn't it just?
Yeah.
Because you are the storyteller of life. And that is the difference between working with an emotion and the essence and building an atmosphere. And it's the difference between somebody saying, it's my mother, and, oh my God, it's my mum. There you go.
You know, when I'm in the power, because my volume level goes up, you can tell I'm in the power. But the problem with that is I'm already quite a loud person. So normally when I'm in a group doing mediumship, it's, can you be quiet? And it's sort of, if anything, that's taking me out of the power, Colin. So I have a bit of a problem with my volume knob.
Well, honestly, I think we all do. I mean, the latest lot of work I've done over the last couple of months, I found myself getting so loud. I said, am I shouting? And the thing is, it's, in a way, it's the presence of the power that moves us. But then when we have an inner awareness of it, we just turn it down a little bit, because you don't need to be loud. I find I'm very loud when I'm working through translation, because I'm speaking like this. And then all of a sudden I'll go, oh, I'm really sorry. Am I shouting? And they go, yes. I go, oh dear. Sorry.
The thing is, Colin, I almost think I'm probably twice as loud as you in max volume mode. That's the problem. Someone said to me a while ago, actually, I won't name names, but they said to me, Jason, you're made for platform, which is obviously where I'm very passionate about, but you won't even need a microphone. And I thought, yes, there's probably a lot of truth in that. But there's something about that building of the energy that I've even noticed when I get up. When I used to get up in the early days and do some platform, it used to be, I don't think I'm ever one to sort of get up a bit, to sort of jump into it. But I used to notice that it would be sticky. The energy drops if you take too long. I've noticed with me, when a spirit person shows themselves, I normally probably don't stay with it nowhere near long enough at the beginning, because I'm like a horse out the paddock. As soon as I've got a sense, I'm with it. But what I'm now doing is I'm not even getting lost, because I spent so much time getting lost in family connections. What feels like a dad to one person is a granddad in another. We all have these complex lives, don't we? Where not all, who has a 2.4, you know, sort of family setup these days. So, and there's something in this, and I don't know what you think. You might think this is a bit spicy and controversial, but I care deeply, so deeply about my mediumship that has been an issue in the past. Now I've stopped caring. Now that's what you might have an issue with. I do care, but I've had to start saying I don't care, because that gets me out the way. that's also really allowed the spirit to flow more.
Well, it is. You see, it's that letting go, isn't it? Basically,
It is.
it's that, because true mediumship is an entrancement. And within that, it touches all senses at once. And it goes beyond the physical limitations of mind. And you reach a point, it's like the superconscious mind. You're so sure and you're so there that nothing else exists. You become, in a way, the experience itself. And so you're no longer questioning. What you're doing is you're experiencing, you see.
Yes.
And then less and less. And then the confidence comes within that, you see, because you're more listening to the experience and embracing the experience. And then there is less of a shadow of your own mind, which is saying, hang on, wait, which is what the mind does. Or I know the answer, pick me. And of course, it doesn't really. It just thinks it does. So you're moving into more of a free flow, if you will, if you can describe it in that way. And you see, when you start your communication, a lot of that type of information is not there because you're not there. And if you pressurize yourself to find it instantly, that's when it goes wrong. So starting with what you have and then prove what you need in order to sustain and to unfold, is really the answer. One of the things that I do is I talk to the lovely spirit before I work, not when I'm working because it's too much effort. And I say, right, tell me something about your life. Or if I'm demonstrating, tell me something unusual that will identify you. And then you're putting it into the power that you're seeking. And then when you go to work, it'll be there. You know why you don't get names so readily?
Why?
Is because if I know you and love you, why ever would I give you my name? Nobody does in life.
Yeah.
And when you see someone and you haven't seen someone for, if you look at communication, maybe mama hasn't had a chance to speak to her baby for 15 years. She's not going to say, oh, it's Audrey. Well, mine would. But she's going to say, oh my God, I love you. I love you. I love you. Tell her I love you. So you've got to move through that and embrace that to begin with. And then maybe a little bit down the line,
Well, this is the problem.
then you'll know what it is. So work with it until you're sure, but don't place pressure upon yourself to find it instantly because you're not there. You need that little time, as you said quite rightly, you need that little time to embrace the presence. So that in a way, what you're doing is, Janet No Havoc, she was extraordinary. She used to say, I'm putting the overcoat of the spirit on. And that when I put the overcoat on, I become that person and I step into their shoes. I thought, isn't that marvelous?
Oh, I just love the theatrics.
So what you're doing is you are starting to feel, to sense, and to become. And she was one of the most extraordinary demonstrators. And I had the privilege of working with her for over 30 years. And she used to just smile. She's got that laugh. She'd look up to heaven and then she'd listen to the voices. And she was extraordinary because she just had this faith and belief and love. Oh my God, did that woman love in everything that she did, you see. And it's trusting that which is within you, to embrace that which you need in order to fulfill the wishes and dreams. Because you see, the spirit has wishes and dreams. The person who comes has wishes and dreams. I have wishes and dreams or needs. My need is to know you, to understand you, to embrace you. My need is to understand, to embrace, to need and know you, and then bring everything together so that your needs are answered, and love and healing is created. So really, that's what we do.
It is. Well, even because I'm someone that my granddad came through. He's a guide of mine now. I've come to accept that in the last 6 months, and he was a medium, so he's sort of teaching me from the other world. And he came through and said to me, Jason, you need to stop surrendering your power to teachers, books, whatever, because of the fact that you need to take what resonates, find your way, but be an outside the box person. And there's something in this at the moment, like you were just saying about when you're doing a reading, not getting stuck on the name, the relationship, all of this kind of factory produced medium stuff where you need to get this, which is, if anything, it's robbing the opportunity from the spirit person. But I used to be, back in my early days, Colin, when I was at secondary school, I went to an awful secondary school. It was in the bottom 3 secondary schools in the country. Horrible school. Anyway, I was very into performing magic and I used to love it. I was a bit of a comedian on the stage. I'd do all sorts of things with stage illusions, and I'm a big fan of Derren Brown. And I've often said that the spirit world is so intelligent, and there's such an intelligence in terms of what they can do. And recently I've been playing around with color cards and stuff like that, and being able to just get the color, get the symbol, get this, and it's made me start thinking, right, yes, I accept your point about we're not going to get mediumship back to where it was, which is a great shame. But I think unless someone pushes the disconnect button on the internet.
No, I have to disagree with you there. Miracles still exist.
Oh, I love a debate, Colin. Bring it on.
To believe in them. When you look at the mediumship of the past, they were people who dedicated their lives and themselves to unfolding the presence and the power of the spirit. There is nothing to say that you could not create to the same degree. There is no limitations. Do not limit the limitless power of who you are. But we will never quite do it in the same way. And then go on.
Go on, so Colin, I'm doing that thing that I tell people off in sales for, which is called queuing, when I'm interrupting. When I first started in recruitment, that was one of my things I had to get out the habit of. I thought, I'm terrible at bloody interrupting. But there's something in that because of the fact that when you are, I can't even remember the point you said now. I've just interrupted you and I can't remember the point.
The point was, you said that mediumship will never get back to the way it once was. And I said, now don't limit it, because there's nothing to say that you cannot. And really, life is about facts and figures, but it is also so much more. And this is why I believe it's the combination of the two. So there has to be the evidential side of mediumship that proves the continuity of life, you see, but you also have to embrace that life is more. What makes us who we are? This is one of the things I do with my darlings. What I want you to do is I want you to place yourself in the spirit world. You are the spirit and I am your medium. What would be your evidence to me to tell someone it was you?
Well, I'll tell you what it wouldn't be. I wouldn't want you saying my name's Jason, I'm 38, I live in Bristol, because that's not going to be what I want communicated, is it? I would want you to say to my loved one, firstly, how much I love them. I want them to, of course, know that they know that it's me there. So there has to be some evidence of validation. But I'm going to want them to know about... Do you know, actually, I would want them, and I've wasted a lot of time in readings. You can waste so much time in a reading talking about who the person was and what they did. It gets to a point of the reading where you've got to then move it on to that person and to why that person's here and whatever. So I would want, as the spirit person, to make it known that I'm around that person. So I would want to bring in evidence that shows that I'm aware of what they're doing at the moment, to let them know of my presence, my love, and the fact I'm still around.
That's what I start with. I bring the evidence in afterwards. So the evidence is also based upon I remember when. So you've got the memories, you see. So if for instance, the emotion is one of love. I really love you. How do I love you? It's that just taking something just a little bit further to open a door. Or it's not even a door, really, just to open a way of understanding, you see, as to why. And then all of a sudden you feel this overwhelming sense of love. And then you see the two of them going arm in arm, laughing, going up the shops. So there is memories that come through love. Those last 3 days of life where you never left my side. And you just held my hand and said, it's okay, Mum. It's okay for you to go. So emotion has a meaning, but it has a story. And often you'll find with the spirit, one of the things that we really embrace is unfinished business. So I tell you, before you leave this world, you tell everyone exactly how you feel. You leave nothing left unsaid. And then you will know exactly where you are. And of course, life and the spirit is a progression. So we don't become an angel with wings and a harp and a curly perm and a harp, though that'd be very nice, I think, sometimes. But there is a gradual realization of life, the journey of life, what we have done, what we've experienced. And quite often within communication and the emotion of it is, I'm sorry. How am I sorry? And the story that comes with that and the memories that come with that are often more powerful than giving the name, the age, and where you lived. Although you could say that the name, the age, and where you lived is absolutely confirming in some way, because look at Estelle Roberts and Helen Hughes, 48 first names, second names, and addresses demonstrating to 8,000 people in Sheffield. So you could say that that's extraordinary, because I've read the transcript. It's like, my God, Mr. Thompson, this and that. And so it has to be a combination of everything. And for some people, it's going to be more dot the I's, cross the T's in the spirit world. For others, it's going to be just tell my baby I love him. And sometimes that's the greatest message you ever can give. So it's you can't fix it. You can't stick your finger on it and say, this is what you need to do. But what you can do, and I do mean this, is to realize that this golden thread of information and the flow of life leads us from one thing to another, to another, to another, to another. That rather than seek to find, embrace where you are and allow it to unfold. So whether in its emotion, whether it's an image, whether it's a knowing, embrace it, because it will bring you to more. The deepening, the exploring, and the expanding of information. You know, you've got like Granny in the kitchen.
Yes.
Tell me a granny who wasn't in the kitchen, because the poor lads were tied to the kitchen. They had no choice. However, the fact that you've got Granny in the kitchen means there's something more to Granny in the kitchen. So you stay with it. You feel, you sense, you become the kitchen. All of a sudden, you're describing all these bits and pieces in the kitchen. You see Granny standing at the stone sink, looking out the window. At the window, you see Grandad doing his garden and veg patch like a military operation. There's a little boy with his little spade and his own little bit of garden. You're the little boy. You loved your grandma and granddad. So you've got this amazing story, but you've got to go and explore through the feeling, because it takes you on a journey, you know. Or Granny in the kitchen, describe the kitchen. All of a sudden there's a table in the corner. There's a little girl drawing, listening to Granny as she's cooking. You're speaking to the granddaughter.
It's that leaning into the emotions, isn't it? And leaning into each piece of evidence, because I know in an earlier stage of my mediumship, I'd get a piece of evidence. It was one, another. And it's almost like, or I'd throw away bits of evidence. But it's even interesting, the emotions, how you start by leaning into that, because the only thing that exists is love. And if you get love, first of all, that is the most powerful thing. Lean into that. And the fluidity you talk about, and there's something in what you said as well about talking to your spirit team. Why do your spirit team bring you the emotions first? Because they know that's how Colin works. They know that's your vocabulary.
Well, yes, they do. But the spirit bring the emotion, because I'm connecting to the spirit. The guides and the helpers are still there and part of that process. Because as I'm working in this life, helping everybody to find how to create communication, there's people in the spirit world that are helping people in the spirit to learn how to communicate with the living. Can you imagine such a thing?
I think my granddad's one of those, because he always comes through when I'm doing training, and I think he loves teaching mediumship from the other world. There's something in that.
Yeah, so you see, it's that learning. You know, what if you've got somebody who's never communicated before? What if you've got somebody who's a very frail little lady, or whoever, could be a little gent, could be a lady, who in life was very shy, very introverted? Then first and foremost, they're going to look at the medium. Are they going to be able to communicate and work with the medium? So you need to be one of compassion and love to embrace everybody. You see, and then as soon as you become aware, there needs to be this embracing. You know, look at the trance states where you're working with your guides, your helpers, philosophy, even trance communication. There is what we call an anchor. And that anchor is that first point of perception. And as soon as you embrace that, you work on surrendering. But nobody surrenders. Cooperate, because very few people actually surrender in this world anyway. And as you cooperate, they then begin to influence on a deeper level. You begin to feel as the spirit feels. You begin to see as the spirit sees. And therefore, what you really want to create is a communication of mind to mind. And if you get lost in the descriptive detail, a frock will not talk to you, but the mind will, you see. So you want to touch the mind, and the way to touch the mind is through the personality. Your personality is the window of your soul. It tells me how you think, how you feel, how you look at life, how you looked at your work, how you looked at your job, and everything within it. So see the world through the eyes of the spirit, then you see where they are, you see how they're living. You also feel the emotion, because when you meet somebody in this life and world, the first thing that comes is emotion. You arrange to meet somebody and it's blah, 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 blah. Everything comes in that moment. Well, it does in my life anyway, because
it does in mine, Colin, as well. Normally like a hurricane.
And so it takes 5 minutes to calm that down before you start to talk about what's important. So embrace that first touch, because not only does it give you an insight into the need of the spirit, it will give you, in essence, the message. Because the message is always embedded within the information, the essence, and the presence. You know, if somebody comes to the end and say, and the message is, well, they've missed it. Because the message is purely from the intuition and the knowing, rather than the influence of the spirit.
And you could tell when someone's working like that. I can just tell. You can tell the energy in that as well. And that comes to me quite a lot. You were saying as well before about, you know, back in the days of a lot of our pioneers, they were experimenting, they were doing things, they were, you know, trying all different sorts of things with their mediumship. And I feel in recent times, you know, it's become very this is how we do it, this is how it's done. What I was going with the magic earlier was, I just keep thinking to myself, the spirit world is so intelligent, and it blows my mind, the intelligence of them, how they can tap into our entire memory and consciousness in order to use us as a vehicle, and how much they prepared to come through. I keep thinking to myself, right, I want to do platform mediumship, but I want to maybe show to a younger demographic the powers of the spirit world. I'm sure the spirit world would want to engage with creative ways to show their intelligence that isn't just the way that we do it now. And I keep, thinking about, you probably think I'm absolutely nuts to say this, about merging, the Derren Brown type magic past of mine with mediumship, just to show the pure intelligence of what can be done. Because I want to go on one stage further, Colin. Something happened yesterday where I had a reading from someone, right, where they took a photo of mine a few weeks ago, put it in this little box, and then used quantum energy that brought out an entire report. And from a photo, it showed that I had peanut allergy, that I was diabetic, all my emotions. And a penny dropped for me, and I thought, if there is a resonance in that much detail that can tell my intolerances from a photo, and it said the foods I shouldn't eat. Half my diet was gone because it came up that I shouldn't eat salmon. And it even came up that I had a worm, Colin, in part of my body caused by this sushi. But without going off on a complete tangent, it really showed me that everything is energy. And even if your allergies can be imprinted on a photo that is just ink, my goodness, how much we're underestimating what we are.
Well, I mean, look at such people as Andrew Jackson Davis. He had this ability to go in the trance state and diagnose and prescribe in Latin and write it. Look at Edgar Cayce, for instance, the sleeping prophet. He'd look at somebody, he'd lay down on a couch, sleep for an hour. When he woke up, he'd have absolutely everything that they needed. And so never limit the limitless power. But it's interesting you talking in this way, because the way of the world, mediumship is a sacred act. It is bringing knowledge of this continuation of life, you see. And it starts through the awakening of the soul. There is this desire to know in some way. But the way of the world now is we have to be so much more. And that I like this sense, because I was only speaking of it last week in my classes, that you have to now embrace life as a medium in many different facets of life, and that communication of the spirit is just one of them. Because people are coming to us who are in great need of help, support, healing, and knowledge within life. And the fact that you don't do something doesn't mean you can't. It just means you don't do it. Now, if we embrace the fact that we are working with a living, loving intelligence, then don't you think that intelligence would know what that person needs?
I think they know so much.
Yes. And also the power itself, I don't even necessarily like that word, but the creative energy of life is an intelligence. So sometimes you can bring knowledge, information that comes from anywhere and nowhere and everywhere. And so it's not just limited to grandma, grandpa. I mean, that has its place because it proves the continuity of life. And that's part of what I would always do, because that, to me, but once you've had your proof, what then? There's got to be more.
This is something I keep talking about. It's okay, at churches, if you don't get a message or you're not that person, and this is just maybe from my experience and maybe my patchy attendance of going to churches, but I don't feel that the spirit is touching me. I don't feel touched by the spirit, because I think a lot of the time now we're even too scared to give some level of spirit philosophy. Like, where is it?
Well, now, don't get me started. Because the philosophy, everything about that service is the food of the soul. From the invocation of the prayer to bringing into everyone's awareness of this greater existence of the God force, the power, the presence of the spirit. And the philosophy is the food of the soul, because it's answering everybody's question through the inspiration, the spontaneity of the spirit, to bring everyone into the communion of the spirit. And therefore, when everyone is within the communion of the spirit, every single person should take something from that and also feel part of every message.
Well, that's why, like, a genuine trance communication should touch everyone, shouldn't it? And if it isn't touching everyone in some way, then, because the spirit should be touching everyone's consciousness in that moment, shouldn't
It
they?
should, yes. But you also, one of the things that we don't teach so much in this age, which we should, is the presence and the atmosphere in a church, in a demonstration, and how you need, especially in a demonstration, because 80% of those people aren't interested in the spirit. They just want to know something. They're not based upon the spiritual way of life. So in a way, what you've got to do is you've got to be able to bring something and create something that unites everyone and everyone within their thoughts and heart in relation to the eternal pathway of life. And then you'll have a most wonderful evening, because you'll have an atmosphere of the spirit that will then touch everybody. So even everybody's mind needs to be focused in the same way. So, for instance, if I was demonstrating, I never stand up and demonstrate. You need to feel the presence and the atmosphere of the room first, because it will tell you what you need to do to make it more conducive to what you're trying to create.
Again, composer of energy, isn't it?
Exactly.
Manipulating the energy as you want it. Personally, I want to do things with my mediumship that are outside of the box, which, to be honest with you, is probably why I never want to do any qualifications like SNU ones, because I just want to find my own way to do it. But, the spirit world just keeps impressing on me at the moment. Jason, you're not designed to do it the way anyone else has done it. And I do keep saying back to them, thank you for that. Of course I'm not.
But why should you?
Yeah, why should I?
Because you are unique, you are individual. No two people will ever perceive the spirit in the same way, and no two people will ever unfold it. When you have love in your heart and there is this genuine compassion for the needs of others, how can you go wrong?
You can't, can you?
Mm-mm. I do not think so. And the journey of life is the transformation of the soul. It is the spiritualization of the heart, and that is one of service to mankind. So it is really dissolving into the love element, the divine presence of life. And within that, everything that you need will come when you need it, you see. And this is really where spiritualism is failing, because it is failing, because we are no longer getting the people coming to the church. They are no longer really. Spiritualism has its roots in an incredible truth.
An incredible truth.
And
the only truth.
An incredible truth, but it is only one truth of many. It is only one pathway, and yet they all lead to the same mystery of life. See?
They do.
And so when we speak about spiritualism as it is today, it needs to become more of an open religion that welcomes all religion, in my opinion, because it has so many elements of so many different aspects of life and of religion itself. It is a truth, it is a philosophy, it is a religion. But you also have to look at the world in which we live and the people coming into this world, because they are seeking to embrace and to find their own truth within this world. You see,
You got the biggest heart, Colin.
I
You've got the biggest
still
heart.
serve all of the churches, and they all welcome me beautifully. And I think where we are now is at the threshold of another revelation within the spirit, because spiritualism has gone through so many changes over so many years. And one of the things that I find, because I work a lot in different countries, so I have the privilege of seeing the people of many different countries, and how the people that are coming into spiritualism, who are coming into mediumship and the sacred ancient practice of mediumship, because it is, are seeking to go beyond restrictions to embrace a universal God that honors all religion, that honors all life. And that's what spiritualism was and should be. It should be non-discriminative to other religions. And I just want to correct myself there, because it isn't discriminative to other religions. But it should embrace all thoughts and all ideas. So to be very clear with my own thoughts.
Yes, it should be an experimental
in this
place.
way. Yes. And I've honoured that for 65 years. And I will honour it until the day I leave this life and this world. And so whatever your opinions may be, each one of us is seeking to embrace our pathway of understanding and love. So you may disagree with me, which is wonderful, but don't you come knocking on my door, because you won't be welcome.
Here to that, Colin. That's what I say.
Exactly.
But, you know, I don't think any one place should own spiritualism. Normally the reason people get drawn to spiritualism is because they're not aligning with the how religion is and so on. So I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Well,
Colin.
We have the most wonderful opportunity in life. And really, the ethos of the spirit is one of communion. It is also one of personal responsibility. And it should also be one of loving kindness to everyone. It should not be one of conflict.
No.
You see. And I was very fortunate that I was brought up with love. I studied under the greatest mediums of our age, and each one gave me something. But collectively, they all had this great passion, just as you have, this great passion and belief within the power of the spirit, and worked tirelessly to bring that into this life and into this world. And I think that's where the focus needs to be, that we need to focus upon this collective harmony and work together.
Yes.
See, and when everybody is in union and harmony, then of course everything will manifest in a way that it should. See, and I don't think that we should spoil something that within its truth and foundation is absolutely one of love. But we also, unfortunately, live in a world of human nature. And human nature at times is not kind to each other.
No, it's not.
But all things pass and leave this world. So everything is but for a moment. And that moment, be it a reason, a season, or a lifetime, will have its moment, will have its day, but then it will move into something else. And so The way to change the world is to be one of peace, is to be one of love, is to embrace the reality that we are all created equal. We are all born of this one true source of life that has many names, honors many religions. But when you choose a pathway of peace, it will lead you into a universal and a greater understanding of life. And that is how I would like to be remembered. I've had the most amazing life. I've had the privilege of teaching thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people and helping them to find their way, you see. So I regret nothing, you see. And we always remember that which touches the heart. And I carry every single one with me because that is the joy of life, you see. So whatever your belief may be, you know, I will continue to serve the churches because the core essence of love is still there. You know, when you touch the heart of someone and you bring something that is called hope to another, and you see that light turn on once more, you are creating a miracle. And miracles still exist.
They do.
It is our belief within them that
It is.
them.
It's like the barometer of love, isn't it, Colin? It's the most important thing, the only thing. It's, you know, I try and go through my life now with just such a softness and grace to just, you know, just let things go. But,
Well,
you know,
that is the answer, you see.
It is. And it's, do you know what I would say to people actually listening to this, that if you've got any situation in your life, if you're perhaps looking at a teacher and whatever, put love at the top of everything, because it's the only, and I believe when we go back to the spirit world, we realise that is all that is.
Well, Mavis was a great one. She used to look at you and she'd say, do you know, I do love you, but I don't understand you at all. And I'd just laugh. And she was an extraordinary teacher. And I had the privilege of working with her also for many years. And, you know, one thing she taught me was that she knew, she believed, and she understood life, and she understood her own journey, you see. And I think if you can start to embrace the reality of that and just really understand that we are all human beings upon a spiritual journey, we are all seeking to find, to embrace, and to become. We may not always agree with each other, Lord knows, but we can always love each other. I love you, but I do not understand you, I think is a wonderful, wonderful saying. And all those teachers, you know, all the pioneers of the past, they still exist. They are still part of everything that we do and everything that we create. And that when you sit within the presence of life and that you send your thoughts, they are there for us. They support us. They wish us well.
They do indeed.
So who is to say where the ultimate source of inspiration lies?
Well, that's a big question, isn't it, Colin? We could discuss that for a whole nother hour.
We'll do that again, shall we?
We will. Well, thank you, my dear, for coming on. It's been so lovely to talk to you, and I'm sure everyone has loved hearing from you. So thank you for coming on.
Well, do you know, it's a real pleasure to talk to you. But remember, there is no right way, there is no wrong way. It is the way that resonates within your heart. When you follow a journey, follow it because your heart tells you to. And the spirit world is as real as you and I, and there is nothing that separates us. It is only a will and a wish and a thought, and we are embraced by eternity. That is something to look after you.
What a way to close the episode, Colin. Thank you, my dear, for coming on to the Soul Sync.
It's a joy, and you know, everything is a ramble with me. You know, accept it, take from it what you will. And I certainly don't have all the answers. I never profess to. But I do have love in my heart, and I do wish you well, all of you.
He certainly does have love in his heart, and it emanates out every single time I speak to Colin. And I think he's such a lovely person, firstly, and an amazing medium. And he teaches through such a lens of authenticity and heart. And he's just a beautiful human being. And he's been an inspiration on my mediumship. That conversation really touched me and made me introspect on my own journey with mediumship, and at times how much I've doubted myself in that journey. Do you know, the funny thing is I haven't even doubted the spirit world. I'd say at the point that I knew that the spirit world was absolutely 100% true, I never doubted them, but it was myself I doubted, and my ability to connect with them, which is crazy considering how much I was achieving in my life overall. But until next time, my darlings, lots of love.